If you're thinking about starting to sell on Amazon, do not start until you've watched this video from beginning to end. Because the reality is the majority of Amazon sellers fail in the first few months. Now, this is not because they can't source products properly, it's because they're not aware of the hidden costs that are going on in the background. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about 4 things that every new seller should have in place from day one. We're not just going to be talking about the what, we're also going to be talking about the why. And that's because if you understand truly what is happening and why stuff is relevant, it will stop your business from making expensive mistakes. So let's get into it. So one of the main things to understand from the get-go is the difference between profit and revenue. Because Amazon Central only shows you what your revenue is, but the revenue is kind of irrelevant because you want your business to be profitable. Now, the difference between what your revenue is and what your profit is, we've got ourselves refunds, we've got ourselves returns, we've got ourselves cost of goods, we've got ourselves Amazon fees. So there are so many things that you kind of got to understand and know that happening that Amazon Central is not showing you. And once you have these information and understand how profitable your business is, this is going to allow you to understand, should I go and buy more of a product because it's doing well? Can I get away with lowering the price a bit more to maybe shift more units? And this will allow you to make educated decisions rather than using estimates going off of what your revenue is. This will stop you from continuously restocking your product that maybe was actually closer to break even or even a loss. And the earlier that you're aware of these things, well, the longer those losses potentially aren't going to be going on for. So one of the things that trips a lot of new sellers out is cost of goods. Now, this is the price that you've gone and paid for a product. Now, a lot of people get tripped up on this because either their costs are changing or what they're doing is just using an average of what they got the product for rather than the most accurate system, which is a first in, first out. So what is a first in, first out? First in, first out is basically if I bought 10 of a product and then I bought another 10 of the product, but the first 10 I got for £10 and the second 10 I got for £20. Well, when those products go and sell on, the first 10 that sell on are going to be sold on with a cost of goods of £10. The second lot are going to get sold on with a cost of goods of £20. This is super useful, especially when you're sourcing your products, the same product over and over again, but maybe there's different prices. Also, if there are varied shipping costs, import costs, and so on, rather than just using one slightly guesstimated figure, that as a result will leave you with inaccurate profit figures, and therefore not knowing if it's worth restocking it or not. So with all that being said, what you need is a live profit or loss view that shows all your expenses, your cost of goods, your sales, which is updated with every single order. That way, every decision you make is based on facts and not guesses. And that is exactly what SellerToolKit is built to do. It's built by Amazon sellers, so it solves the problems you're going to come across in a real Amazon business. So if you want to check it out, there is a free trial in the description. But let's get on to the next thing not to miss. The next thing not to miss, and it's going to come across very strange for new sellers, is Amazon is probably going to owe you money. Now, it seems weird because, of course, we're buying stuff to sell to customers, but a lot of the time, Amazon kind of messes up between, us sending the products in and the customers getting the products that we should be getting reimbursed for. For example, we can send in some products and potentially that whole shipment hasn't made its way to Amazon for one reason or another. Well, Amazon owes us money for that. The second one, Amazon in their warehouse, they might go and damage our product. Well, Amazon owes us some money for that. And another one, sometimes the customer can get the product, they return it, but they don't actually end up returning it. And well, that's another thing that Amazon should give us some money for. And it may be surprising from how big of a business Amazon is, but they're not going to go and chase you when they mess stuff up. In fact, when they mess stuff up, it is actually your responsibility to know that you've being messed up by Amazon, and then you need to go and chase it. So it might be surprising with how big of a company Amazon is that they don't go and reimburse you automatically, but it is your job to go and find what reimbursements they owe you and chase it up. Otherwise, they're not going to give you that money. And the reason a lot of sellers will actually go and miss these reimbursements is because there is a lot of admin for it. You've got to be chasing up reports, you've got to be cross-referencing things, and that's for every single item that you're selling on Amazon. And as a result, we find that a lot of sellers don't even bother chasing it up. All what they'll do is they'll use a third-party site that takes about 25 to 30% of a cut. But as more experienced Amazon sellers will tell you, do not leave these reimbursements. In fact, these reimbursements alone can actually end up paying for SellerToolKit itself. And to add even more to that, Amazon also has one time frame of how long you have to let it be until you can make a reimbursement, and another time frame of, well, how long you have to actually go and chase that reimbursement. That's why there's tools in SellerToolKit to help you with that. In fact, they've got something that will go and write the full case for you, and all you got to do is copy it, paste it into a support note, and make the case right there. This is really useful for new sellers because there is so much terminology and so many, stats and IDs and stuff you're basically given. It can be very overwhelming to know what to actually tell Amazon to be able to get that reimbursement. And SellerToolKit, they just create that template for you, you copy it, paste it, and submit it. And even though they do all that, they take 0% of those reimbursements. So we were talking earlier about those third-party sites that will take 25 to 30%. SellerToolKit will take nothing, meaning you get to keep the whole reimbursement. This is because when you send your inventory into Amazon, it can basically end up in loads of different places. It can be in transit, so you just basically distribute it to other warehouses. It can get damaged in transit, so there's another place it can be. It can be in reserved, or it could be available to sell. So you could just send off one product, but it could basically be in 5 different places. Well, why is it relevant to keep on top of the total of your inventory, even though it can be in loads of different places? Well, sometimes whilst they're moving it around, Amazon can lose it or they can damage it. And again, this is one thing to keep on top of to be able to reconcile to get some money back, because there's a discrepancy between how much inventory you sent in and how much inventory Amazon has. Well, they may owe you some money. For example, I might go and send in 100 units to Amazon, and Amazon might for some reason only receive 98. Now, what a lot of sellers will do now is they'll get excited because they'll start seeing that inventory selling on. But what they don't realize is actually they've already taken a loss before stuff starts selling on. And as you can imagine, especially when you start scaling and sending in lots of different items, you can really end up taking some big losses if you're not chasing these discrepancies. So inventory management isn't actually all about what's already in Amazon selling, it's about what you should be replenishing. Because if you've got an item that's selling really, really well and you're coming out, it's basically coming to the end of its supply in Amazon, you want to be resupplying it. Because if you're not resupplying it, you're going to be losing out to competitors and you're going to be leaving money on the table. On the other side of understocking, you've got potentially overstocking. Because if you've gone and sent in, let's say 50 units and only 10 sell in a month, well, those 40 other units you're going to be paying a storage fee on. So what you want to be doing is finding that happy medium, almost just a conveyor belt of basically sending stock into Amazon, it's selling within about 30 to 60 days, and then being able to replenish it. And that's how you'll be able to have the most efficient sort of business model. So what we're going to be looking for is basically the sweet spot between not being undersupplied, that we're leaving money on the table, but not being oversupplied and that we're having to pay storage fees. And that's where SellerToolKit comes in. It is a comprehensive inventory view that shows you exactly where your stock is at any one time. It also forecasts what you need, when you need it, and at what quantities, using your previous sales data rather than just going off of a hunch. The final thing we're going to be talking about is spreadsheets. Now, I, like all other sellers, at the beginning, you just want to go and use spreadsheets, because why would you end up paying for software when you could just do it all manually? But the problem is the cracks start to appear, because those spreadsheets are going to take so long to update. In fact, by the time you've updated it, it's already probably out of date. And one of the problems that I came across very early on even is that I was kind of spending so much time updating these spreadsheets when I could be doing way more valuable skills, such as sourcing. And if you really are taking the Amazon business serious, every single time that something goes out of date on the spreadsheet, your profit is going to be inaccurate. And with there being a consistent change of fees, cost of goods, it's going to make it very difficult to keep on top of what is a really good return on investment product and what product is actually failing to even make you profit whatsoever. In fact, sellers who move from spreadsheets to uniform platforms consistently say how surprised they are with the actual figures rather than what they had previously. So if you are about to start selling on Amazon, or maybe you're already selling on Amazon but using spreadsheets and maybe a little bit too much guesswork for your liking, click on the top link in the description to start a trial for SellerToolKit with no payment details required. You can connect your account in a matter of minutes, and then you can see what your profit losses are, you can see what Amazon owes you, and which products should you be restocking. So again, to get started with SellerToolKit, do click on the top link in the description for a free trial, and for a full tutorial on how to use SellerToolKit, click on this video right here.